I used to tell people that my favourite colour was blue. Loved it.
And it wasn't. No, it
And then
wasn't.
me and Bill, we had such a funny conversation. He was like, but your favourite colour's always been blue. How have you changed your favourite colour? You can't change favourite colour. And I was like, but I listened to myself.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Prudence Network podcast. And today's episode is such a special one. And because I am joined by someone I've really been looking forward to speaking to for the past few days. We just met on Instagram, not really in person. And I really loved her podcast, the first episode. So I was like, okay, Samantha, I think we can do something together because it's kind of relatable. Hi, Samantha.
Hi, Prudence. Thank you so much for inviting me onto your podcast today.
That's okay. So Samantha is a mom. She's a childminder and a woman who openly shares her journey navigating motherhood, business, the childminding business, and also she's got ADHD. So she shares stories in such a relatable way. Also, she does have guests who come on her podcast. So it's really lovely. I will pin her handle on there is it Spotify?
Yes, yeah, on Spotify. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So we are going to be talking about the real side of motherhood, the overstimulation, the mental load, and balancing and caring for other children alongside raising her own, and just being honest about those moments that people don't always talk about. That's why I love this space. So honestly, this is going to be a safe space for both of us and everyone listening. Okay, so we'll dive into the icebreaker so that we just break the room. Okay, so before we get into the deep stuff, I always like to start with something light. So Samantha, if you had a day completely to yourself, no responsibilities, no mom guilt, what would you honestly do?
Oh, Prudence, what a great start. So I would really like, and please don't come for me, I would love to just be able to clean. You know, I just want to clean. I just want to mop the floors, wipe the kitchen. I like cleaning. You know, I like that. I like to put my candle on, but like not being disturbed at the same time.
Where is you by yourself?
When the house is clean and tidy, I'm gonna go shopping. Okay, I'm gonna be in TK Maxx. I'm gonna be picking up every candle, smelling every single one of them, and having sushi for lunch. And I think, yeah, I've actually been taking myself on some solo dates recently. So they're not happening all of the time. It's just when I feel like I need that. So yeah, that's probably one of my fun things to do is my solo date day.
That's amazing. I'm actually surprised you like cleaning in your free time. I'm like, who likes cleaning? Because I can clean, but to say I'm enjoying it, I will not enjoy it. That's how we're different, but that's actually very good.
Yeah, I just love the music on. The bad dancing comes out. Like, trust me, the move with the mop. It's like a rom-com, you know. I'm dancing with the mop around. I don't even know what kind of music I've got on sometimes. It just goes. But I think it's just that undisturbedness of it as well, of not saying, I'll come and play in 1 minute, 5 minutes, mummy needs 10 minutes. And I think just like actually getting it done instead of it just being like a quick rush job at the end of the night, you know, just so that I feel satisfied.
And I think solo dates are very important. I have been taking myself to some solo dates, just going out and having a big meal, like a huge meal all by myself, not caring what people think in the restaurant. But it has really helped me. I'm reflecting like on myself, my life, my day and everything. So I think everyone deserves the solo date, even though my kids just want to come along all the time. Mommy, can we come with you?
No, but
I don't feel bad saying, well, not this time.
no.
But I'm just praying that I take out the mom guilt sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that was really, in a way, hard but easy to do. I think actually crossing the front door was the
Mhm.
hardest bit. But as soon as I stepped out my front door, I was like, whoa, and my shoulders dropped. And I didn't have like a massive bag that had
Yeah.
everything for everyone else in. I took a teeny tiny handbag, which does not happen often anymore. And you're just in it, and I almost felt like I had a skip in my step as I was like walking down the street. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I literally had nothing planned.
Good. We all deserve it.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we dive into the main conversation for today, what does a typical day look like for you from start to finish, just in detail?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's a working day, I'm an early bird. I always wake up before my alarm. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes I do just need 5 more minutes to actually wake up. And I think it's just, important to have that downtime. So this morning I woke up really early, but then I went downstairs and I watched TV. I had 3 chocolate biscuits at six
In the
o'clock this
morning.
morning. And I was reading like a childcare magazine, and it was just so chill. And then I came up, I started getting ready, woke up the family, fed the cats, and then before you know it, the mindies are turning up. So our day is 7:30 till 5:30 with the children. Today was lovely. Like it was just, I've called it Wonderful Wednesday. It was such a really just great day. We spent the morning playing. We've been really talking about like bugs and spring recently. We've been in the garden. And then we went to like a stay and play session this afternoon, and everything considering yesterday felt topsy-turvy. It was one of those days yesterday.
Yeah.
So for today to be quite literally the opposite of that, it was like, oh, we're having a really great day. And I've been spending my evenings recording the podcast. So I've been interviewing my guests and my friends as well. Billy is my husband, and we also work together. And he's quite the chef, and I'm saying it, he cooks every meal. And so our evenings, like he'll do dinner. I spend some quality time with Penny as well, because even though she's here with me during the day, sometimes I feel like I'm like there's not that one-to-one with her. So that's when I get that time with her as well. And then and I'm in bed by 8.
8 o'clock, you're in bed.
I'm in bed, yeah. And I became really strict with like my phone as well. So my phone goes down at 9. This is going to put a smile on one of my friends' faces who listens, because she's even told me that she doesn't even bother messaging me after 9 o'clock anymore.
No. Now everyone listening will know 9 o'clock, she doesn't take any messages.
No.
So are you going to interview Billy at some point?
Yes.
I think everyone is waiting to hear you guys. For real. Talking about maybe childminding, how your day looks like, how you do everything together, how you just,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that interview.
I think so. And it's really funny because we keep on going to do it, and then we're having like a chat about what kind of theme do we want to get across? Is there anything in particular we want to actually talk about? And whilst we're having that conversation, it's like, why wasn't we recording this? Because now we've chatted for like half an hour.
Now you'll have to do it again on camera.
On camera with the microphone on this time. On. Hey, it's one of my favorite bloopers that I got from it. Yeah, the episode with Billy is coming. It's it's just every time we even plan it, it's like, oh, and we just haven't yet.
Very
But I know the demand is there. I know that he's the star guest. People have been messaging me wanting to hear from Bill.
Because you said everything good about him, and everyone really can't wait to see him and listen to you guys chat. Okay, so do you ever feel like your mind is constantly on?
Oh, constantly on, constantly. I think that's, partly with the ADHD as well. Even when I'm not at work, I'm thinking about work. And when I'm at work, I might be thinking about like personal things as well. There's so much that goes on in an ADHD brain. And I think sometimes it's learning when to listen to some of the not so pleasant thoughts or the helpful thoughts, and it's like, no, we're not going down that route tonight. I've been really struggling with insomnia for about the last 6 months as well, and that's when they just run absolutely rapid. So being on like during the day, you're thinking of the children, you're thinking of their needs, their wants, development milestones. So it's, the day-to-day sort of thing whilst you're at work. It's already such a full-on job. It's a big responsibility that I take very seriously. And working 10-hour days as well. It's a big job, and I'm passionate about it. I love it. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But you take that home with you, quite literally. And, we might be having dinner, or we're in the car going on a family outing, a family day out, and we'll be almost having like a work chat. And it's, you can't separate that sometimes. Yeah. And I think if something's on my mind, in my heart, feeling heavy, we've created such a safe space between us that we can share when things are feeling big and heavy, and that we need to have those conversations with each other. So it's not always that we're on because we have to be, but it's sometimes, especially in my case, I feel like I just don't have much of a choice of it either.
So with having ADHD, do you ever feel overstimulated? And how do you really, I don't know if I should say separated, how do you know I'm really overstimulated and I think I can control my ADHD? Can that be separated, and how do you deal with that?
So I only say recently loosely, it was only about 4 years ago that I got my diagnosis. So I was a little bit later in life with my diagnosis with it, and it just all suddenly made sense. It was a 30th birthday present to myself that I was going to find out and get some answers. And I think knowing has been the greatest strength. So throughout my teen years, my 20s, I've always felt like there was something wrong, and I was constantly told, oh, you've got anxiety, you've got depression. Well, funnily enough, anxiety and depression have sort of calmed down and left now, because I know what it is, if that makes sense. So when we talk about, the racing thoughts and things like that, that feels very similar to when you're feeling anxious, because like your heart starts racing, your temperature might change, your thoughts are in overdrive and running crazy. But if it all depends on the situation as well. And if you allow it that time of, okay, just run. Like sometimes I give into it. I'm like, okay, have it. And it might, like, I'm trying not to sound, too much of a crazy lady, but there might be 6, 7 conversations going on all at once. And sometimes I just have to sit there and tolerate it. But then other times, if it's not helpful, if it's not kind thoughts, I've learned to challenge that. And that took a lot of practice. I've been in and out of like therapy. I've had counselling. I've tried CBT, and it was the wrong type. It wasn't what I needed. Whereas last year I started ADHD coaching, and it completely changed my life because what she was giving me was what I needed, and it was what I could use. So I think putting that into practice definitely took time. Not everything worked, which again, we're all such individuals. What my ADHD looks like might look so different to the person sitting next to me with ADHD. And I think understanding that as an individual was a lot of reflective work. I really took a deep dive into Sam because for so long I used to tell people that my favourite colour was blue, and it wasn't. Not that it wasn't, but it changed. And when it became pink, so I'm really in like a bit of a green and pink, like really like earthy, feminine little bit of my life right now, and I love it. And then me and Bill, we had such a funny conversation. He was like, but your favorite color's always been blue. How have you changed your favorite color? You can't change favorite color. And I was like, but I listened to myself. I found that about me. And I think it's very different. We've got to look at our why did I want to know more about myself? And it turns out that I'm important too in my life. It's my needs, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to nod along to this. My needs do tend to get neglected. I don't put myself at the top of that list. And when I first started to, I felt selfish. It was really hard. Like that mum guilt came in, business guilt came in. Was I giving enough? Was I giving my all to things? And now, instead of saying that it was selfish, I say that it's self-aware. I'm self-aware of my feelings, my emotions, my needs. Having 3 chocolate biscuits this morning, I needed that. I wanted that.
No guilt at all.
No guilt at all. And I think like managing what works for me. I do not go food shopping at a supermarket anymore. It's too loud. It's too bright. I don't want to be sat under fluorescent lights with a list that I've lost, or a list I've left at home, and now I'm trying to remember it. I've gone out hangry. And now the trolley is full of bits and pieces that aren't even going to make a meal. And it's smelly, right? Supermarkets are intense.
None. The soap, the meat, everything.
Even if someone walks past you and they're wearing really strong perfume, it feels too much. So I do food shop online now, but that's something that I knew I needed. Whereas before, I would force myself to go, and then I would come home and I would be drained, all from something so simple. I know some people enjoy going out to do their food shops and it's their alone time and things like that. Me, no. Don't invite me to a supermarket. I won't come. And if I do, I'm going to be miserable, but I'll force myself to mask up. And then I get home and I'm just like a puddle on the couch because it was too much for me to handle. So so the weekly food shop, no thank you. It's online now. So that's one of my favourite things that I learned, that was actually a huge trigger for me of going food shopping.
So with the confidence, you mentioned something about being confident. How confident are you now after the diagnosis compared to before? Are you aware that I need to be confident in doing this and saying what I'm thinking? than before, or it has always been the same?
Okay, that has some layers. So I wouldn't say I'm a confident person, yes, I come across it, but I'm still sitting here with clammy hands. And you know that I've done it. I've this is only like the fifth time I've like done like the podcast and things. But
You seem really confident, like
yeah,
you seem confident and very happy, and I love that.
but that's taken so much time, so much time. And I think I'm enjoying and I'm embracing that change as well. Like in my 20s, I was just an anxious, nervous wreck. I, the thoughts and the feelings were hard and heavy, and it took over my life. There would be weeks and weeks and months that I wouldn't even like leave the house because I felt riddled with like paranoia, and I was like paralyzed to the sofa. And I couldn't move because I was waiting for a 3 o'clock appointment. But because I had a 3 o'clock appointment, the morning was sat preparing, running around different outcomes. What might they ask me? What are we going to talk about? And like the pressure to that. Whereas now I was so excited to see you this evening and have these conversations. And that does feel very similar to feeling anxious, like your heart's racing, but excited and feeling anxious. We're on the same sort of bodily feeling. But because my thoughts are positive, because I'm like, you know what? I'm hearing the comments, the messages when my friends and colleagues are messaging me and calling me and saying, Sam, I needed that. I want to be that, not because I just want to people please anymore, because I am people pleaser to the back teeth. I used to be. Whereas now, no, I do it because it actually makes me happy. As well, it's got to be that two-way street, hasn't it, of okay, I'm bringing something to your life, are you bringing something to mine? And yes, absolutely. And I think although it's not necessarily a confidence thing, I'm really enjoying and I'm appreciating so much more of what I've got as well.
Amazing. Amen. I would say amen to this because it's very nice.
Thank you.
You're more self-aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that took such a long time to feel okay about, and I did, it used to be so negative. You're being selfish, you're this, you're that, like the belittling thoughts and feelings would absolutely like just knock me out sometimes. Whereas now it's like, no, we're going on a solo date. And you know what? I don't have to worry about two other people if they're getting hungry, if they need a drink. Do I need to find a bathroom somewhere? Like I've given myself a chunk of an afternoon, and that's my time of what I want to do. And it's not selfish, I'm looking after myself in that time. And if I can't look after myself, I'm just going to end up back to square one again. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true, because I've been telling someone that don't feel bad saying no.
Yeah.
This should be your year of saying no, of learning to say no. If you cannot, don't feel bad for someone. If you are invited to a party, don't just go like it's my friend or it's my cousin. Learn to say no, because at the end of the day, it's you, it's your happiness, and you're going to leave those people going back to your home and you're just so tired. And so adding on to that, thank you so much. Just learn to say no sometimes and just make yourself happy.
Yeah. And I think even with like saying no, you don't have to apologize for saying no. You don't have to give the reasons. You don't have to give the excuses. Like no is the sentence.
No, and full stop.
If it's someone that you're close with, or you feel like you can explain that to them, then
You
say
can.
no. You can if you want to. And I think that's the other thing. Do you want to? Do I want to? And if it's a no, or no thank you if we're feeling being polite because we're ladies after all. That's okay. That is okay. And I think, having these opportunities and reflecting on what that brings us of opportunities and friendships, just because I've said no to a plan this time or an invite out doesn't mean exclude me. It could be that I'm going through something really difficult. It could be that time of the month and I'm not feeling my best. We've got our own needs to look after, and we should not feel guilty for that.
True. That's true. And do you ever feel like sometimes ADHD is affecting childminding, or it does not affect at all because you have support?
I think it's a benefit to it. It is overwhelming, of course, and there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of juggling to it. But I think because it's mine, this is my business. I've worked really hard at this for 5.5 years. When I first started, I was a mess. I was a mess, but I hadn't had my diagnosis then either. So now that I know about it, it's one of my biggest strengths, and I am so passionate. I care so deeply. And I think that used to hurt before, when a family would move or would their time here come to an end. I used to take it so personally. Like, I would be up for nights and nights and nights thinking, what did I say? What did I do? Is it me? They don't like me anymore. Whereas now that does not happen. That family moved. They've moved out of the area. That's not because of something I've done. I hope it's not something I've done. But it's not, it's not a me thing that, and I think realizing that really, again, changed my relationship with the job, with that role that I have. But it has, I think with anything, there's strengths and weaknesses, like the overwhelm. Absolutely. Sometimes if it's been a day where they've been teething and they're clingy and they've been crying, that's difficult for anyone to handle and to even support with, and they don't want us sometimes. And then you're dealing with, the baby's rejecting me, but again, just being there and showing up for the child, for the children, but for myself as well. And since Billy working here as well, when I was going through what we went through last year, being able to confidently say to him, I need you to lead X activity this afternoon. I didn't feel guilty about, and do you know what? For so long, I was like, I shouldn't ask him to do this. It's his job. He is actually registered as my assistant. He has done training. He goes on regular webinars and seminars. And for so long, I was like, I'm sorry, but Bill, can you do the nappies? And I would apologize for asking him to do things. Whereas now, I'm like, actually, can you lead this one for me? Not even for me. Again, going back to the not having to give excuses and reasons, but he just gets it, and I think having that support, it's just completely changed things. And now that I'm in such a stronger position as well, it's taken that guilt down too, which it's so strong with ADHD, like that rejection, the guilt, it can really weigh on a mind and a heart with that. Yeah.
Wow, that's really something else. So this means sometimes you just need some time, like time out. It may be 5 minutes, just like even children, they have their corner, as a childminder, we have this corner where you just need to be by yourself. And I think you need it too.
Yeah.
So that you're stronger. Everyone does.
Everyone does. And I think that's the funny thing about childminding, isn't it? That, we don't have that staff room that,
We don't.
I'm going to pop to the loo, or I'm going to pop out for some fresh air. That we
Yeah.
can't do that. And I think it's important that where there is that smidge of some quiet time, if we've got babies that are napping, if the toddlers are chill and they're playing and they don't need us in that moment, it is okay to put those shoulders down. They don't need to be at our ears. Put them down and
Agreed.
just have a few deep breaths. Put the
Mm-hmm.
kettle on. It is okay to have a drink during the day. Trust me, that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to go to the bathroom, go to the loo. Like
Oh.
we have been suppressing our needs for so long,
Mm.
thinking about the needs of so many other people. And I think that was, again, such a realization of I can't, you hear often of pouring from an empty cup. You can't get nothing from a cup that's broken on the floor.
Yeah.
I've been broken on the floor, believe it or not. I've been
Mm-hmm.
broken a few times. But it's about, putting those pieces back together and actually having a functional cup that we can drink from again. So have the cup of tea. Have the cup of tea.
And relax and
You know.
shoulders down.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you tell your parents that I do have ADHD, or you just manage it, you and your husband and your family, knowing this is how mommy is?
Yeah,
Do you tell your
so
yeah.
I think it's been quite organic with a lot of my families. So it's not something that I necessarily like share straight
Yes.
away. But it's not a hindrance. It's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. There's a lot of people in the world that have ADHD. And I think it's one of my biggest strengths. And I think when you have the right support and when you hear a parent say, "Oh, me too," and or even that familiarity of, "Oh, my sister has, my cousin has," it's like you become like a little network of it just becomes familiar. And I think
Mm-hmm.
I've never shied away from it. Once I got my head around, okay, this is actually who you are, it's not a bad thing. So
Mm-hmm.
in my 20s, I constantly saw it as an issue about it, but I didn't know. And I feel like time was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just being honest. I felt like time was stolen in my 20s and my teens. And now I'm like, no, this is me. And this is something I love. I'm passionate about. I share a lot of support around ADHD. Working with my coach for the last year has been phenomenal. And I just so much from her. And even when she says, "Oh, Sam, I'm reading this book, I'm finding it really useful." Some of them I might not necessarily get, but then some I have. And I'm reading them because I want to read them, not because
Yes.
I'm trying to make her happy.
Mm-hmm.
And but then it's like, I read it and then we've got something to talk about as well. But then it's like, I couldn't get into it and we can talk about it as well. And I just think, because we've got a condition, it shouldn't be seen as a negative. This is who we are. This is who I am. And yeah, there are some days where it's overwhelming and, when Bill does, he does so much with the children, like so much. And although we're together, and it's, when he's doing the baking and he's leading activities and he's on the floor and things like, I feel like so much more pressure has come off of me because of the team and the unit that we are.
Yeah. And I also think it's very important to have these conversations, to let the parents who may be listening, to let them know that even if a childminder has ADHD or autism and all that, they can still look after your children
Yeah.
really well. To look at you, you've been childminding for about 5.5 years and you are cruising, smoothly, nothing hindering you. So some parents may be told when they come for a visit, the first time visit, that I'm autistic. Some childminders may mention it. Don't let that stop you from having your child go or attend to that childminder, because there are so many perfect things in their lives, and they have their own children. So if they can look after their own children or sisters' kids, or, they can definitely childmind your own. So really amazing that we're having this conversation. So do you feel sometimes that childminding is underrated? Just childminding as a whole?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I didn't realize if at that table when Billy said to me, and he shared, it was just an idea. He was like, "What about childminding?" So I was a stay-at-home mummy at the time. He was like, "What about childminding?" I was like, "What about childminding?" Because when I've been in nurseries and when I've been at schools, like that was my previous work experience. And when I saw a childminder and she'd have like a whole bunch of kids, and they were all bigger kids, and
Big baggy, like a
yeah,
four.
and I don't know. And then now I love advocating for childminding. It's something that is so close to my heart. I do think that we're underappreciated. I do feel like there's a lot more support professionally that we can have. Like, we're so key in the community, and we make our own mini communities as well with the families that we work with, whether that's previous families. I'm still in touch with so many families, which is like a privilege to even say that. And even, with childminders as well, I've got the most amazing network. And that didn't just come from luck. Some of the time you have to work at that, and friendships have blossomed and bloomed. Some of my closest friends are childminders because we just understand. We just get it with each other. And I feel like we're at such a point in policies that are coming out, documents are changing, and I feel like childminders are finally being mentioned in rooms where this is happening, but we're still very early on with that. I still feel like we've got a way to go.
Yeah. I know you mentioned about your daughter. Is it your son or daughter?
That's also,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. So how do you balance between looking after other children and your daughter? I know you mentioned that after everyone is gone, but does she feel maybe kind of jealous, or she's very helpful? She's very understanding. This is what my parents do, and I can support even playing with the children. How is the relationship between parents, your children, your cats, and the mindies?
Yeah, I think so when I started, she was only about 1.5 as well. So actually some of my first mindies were older than her. But now, just slowly it ticked over into her being the big kid. And, I suppose we all have days where, we're just like, I'm going to do this when I'm ready to. And, I think while she's been little, she's just been so involved. And even now, she comes in so our playroom is like open plan into like our kitchen. So she comes in, she comes out, she comes in, comes out, like throughout the day. She's so playful with them. And it's great because she's still at that playful age where she's wanting to be in there, but then at the same time she's like, I'm going to my bedroom now, and she'll just up and walk out, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll catch you in a minute, sort of thing. And I think just like that, running day to day is we've almost, I don't want to jinx it, but we are in such a unique position of it works, it runs well, even on the day where the babies are teething, are clingy, even when the toddlers might have had bad nights and they don't see in themselves, that's that's just as important as the good days. And I think that's so important to say, actually, we're doing really well, and she fits in that because this is our home. She's comfortable. She knows the children. And I think it's just like, it's more of like a cousin situation. Yeah.
That is amazing that she knows what's happening and she's used to by now. She now thinks this is part of life. So if you stop childminding, it's going to be so confusing for her. Like,
Why is the house quiet?
Mom, Dad, you always look after other kids. So I hope you're going to be doing this for quite a while. All right. So, well, we're going to a closing. Sadly, time flew.
It really did. It really did.
So if there is a mom listening right now who feels really overwhelmed and overstimulated, just like 90% of the moms, and maybe even like she's failing, what would you like to say to her?
You're not alone. You know, you're not. Whether you do have ADHD, whether you've got autism, or just or anything really, you know, you're not alone. If there is, even if it's one person that you've got that safety net with, a connection with, let them know. As well, if there's someone listening who even wants to send me a message, you know, social medias and things like that are wonderful for connecting with people. And I just think, you know, find people that you can trust, because believe it or not, we're not judging you. Okay, we're having the same sort of experiences as well. Mopping with loud music on sometimes makes me emotional. Sometimes I cry, and not even sometimes, I cry a lot. Guys, I cry so much. And that can be happy tears, sad tears, overwhelmed tears. You know, learn what works for you, and it's not selfish. If you need 5 minutes of fresh air, if you need 5 hours to yourself, it's not selfish. It's what you need.
Yes. Okay. So, to the parents listening, what would you want to say to the parents that are listening who may face maybe childminders who are autistic or who have ADHD during that visit, the first initial visit, and they may say, no, this is not the place for my child because maybe this childminder may snap or anything may happen. What would you want to say to those parents?
So, believe it or not, that can happen to a normal mind as well. You know, we can all come to an end of a tether. It can happen to anybody. I think we're amazing. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be big-headed, but I am. We're amazing. We are quirky. We are special. We handle pressure so well.
Everyone else.
In those moments of need, we are there. You know, we're number one for that. And I just think, you know, we're just normal people. We're just normal people. And for some of us, whether we've known all of our lives, whether we've had late diagnosis, you know, sometimes we're still figuring it out as well. And, you know, don't not send your children here. But then also, if you're not going to send your children here because of neurodiversity, I think you need to have a closer look to home of to why you're not, because we are fantastic people.
You are fantastic. You're amazing people. Happy people.
We are happy. It's not all the time, but people are not happy all the time. Humans cannot be happy all of the time. And, you know, I love the work that I do around neurodiversity. I've worked with some amazing professionals, and it's so special. It's so unique, but also the children that we look after might have ADHD and autism. And some of the best people that are going to support your children with that are the ones who understand it best.
Yeah. So we said a message to the parents, to the childminders. What about to this little girl, maybe an 11-year-old who now knows they do have ADHD, and they are thinking, am I going to be a teacher one day with this? Or am I going to be a childminder? Am I going to be a pilot? They may be listening, these kids, you can never know. This is internet. So what do you want to say to this little child about chasing their dream?
Okay, your dream is going to change a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You're going to change a lot. And it's not scary. I promise it's not. Once you understand it, and I think, younger listeners, again, if they want to reach out and it's safe to do so, find that special person that you can share that with, whether that is a teacher, whether that's an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, or your parents, share those feelings, because they're so important. It's relevant because it's your life. Don't feel scared about this. One day it might make sense. It's only just started making sense now when I'm 34. I've had so many different dream jobs, and I eventually found it. It took me a little while. I went through some interesting roles in the past, but that might be for
We'll need another.
We'll come back to that one. But how can you say what's your dream job when you've hardly experienced life? If you've got a dream, if there's something you're good at and you're passionate at, give it a go. And if it doesn't work, you are not a failure. You've just found something that you didn't actually end up enjoying.
Like anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't all be good and great at the same things, because life would be so dull and boring if we could all do that. We need artists, we need engineers, we need the different jobs and careers, and we need different people that come with those thoughts and feelings.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Samantha. And this has been such a beautiful conversation. It's like we have known each other for ages. And it's been very beautiful and honest. I think so many people are going to feel seen and to be very confident, to be heard, to be understood listening to this. So thank you for being so open and sharing your reality as always.
Yes.
Not just the good parts, but the hard parts too. Yeah. That's what makes this world so colorful, and this is so powerful. So make sure you connect with Samantha. You can find her podcast on the link that I'm going to put. And she does have an Instagram handle with very cute pictures. I think mini moons.
Yes.
What does it mean?
So, Prudence, you're going to regret asking that, because there's a bit of a backstory. And Bill, I know you're going to listen to this, so I'm going to make it quick, even though I've just gave you that easy bit. Billy has always called me Moon. We've been together for nearly 15 years, and he has called me Moon most of that time. And we ended up having our daughter, and she's my mini Moon. And I made this for her. I did this for her. So that's why it's mini moons, because it's for her. It's for her.
You have mini moons coming every day.
Every day.
But it's so sweet. And Billy is so sweet. Shout out, Billy.
Shout out, Billy. Get on the next podcast, Bill.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And you're not just raising children, you're raising yourself too. So if this episode spoke to you, don't forget to don't forget to leave a comment. Even if you have a question for Samantha, just leave it in there and she will respond. So take care, and thank you, Samantha.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.